Thank you for tuning in to another Brewnomics interview series at the Lounge. I'm Jerry.
I'm Vic.
And today our special guests are...
Marcos from Loose Screw Brewing. I'm the head brewer there.
And I'm Chris from Loose Screw Beer Company.
Beer Company. You heard it here
Co.
first.
My bad.
Minor clarification.
That's all right. Well, let's get into it. Of course, it's a beer podcast. Let's break that ice and drink a beer. All right. Of course, the beer today provided by the wonderful fine folks at Loose Screw Beer Company. What do we got? What do we got first, gentlemen? What can you tell us about this one?
So this is our blonde ale called the Batty Bombshell, and probably it's our lightest beer that we have on. Super easy drinking, low ABV, 4% range, low IBUs, clean, simple malt bill, and chose to use a yeast that just has a little bit more flavor than I think you would find in traditional blonde ales.
Rad.
I would agree right off the bat with that. It definitely does not sit as a industrial style light. It does have blonde, has a little bit of personality, which is nice for a blonde because that doesn't happen too often. So you can tell almost a little bit of spiciness in there, even not like a floral spice to it, I think.
Yeah, and that's again just coming straight from the yeast. I mean, not a complex malt bill at all, and so it's really the yeast that you're tasting for the most part.
Right.
Very good. Yeah, nice, easy summer drinker. Clean off the palate. Feels good, nice and refreshing. I definitely recommend this one for just hanging out, doing yard games in the backyard. Super good.
Yeah, you could drink this bitch all day.
Right.
All day. Who knows? It's still early. We might. All right. Well, let's get down to it. So, Loose Screw Beer Company. Chris, tell us about the name. How'd you come up with that? Or who came up with that?
Well, I can't take credit for that. That was actually the wife. We had talked about, what did we want to do with this brand, and we wanted to be different. We wanted to have fun with it and come up with something that we could just mess around with. Life is tough, and so sometimes we just need to jack around with each other and have a good time. And so, I don't know, over a couple months, we just talked about it. We had input from other people, and it popped into her head one day, and we're like, that's it.
Oh, it's good. I like it. I love the logo that you guys have, the little winking mustache man. I don't know if that's how you would describe it, but that's how I just described it. But it is. It's a great logo. So tell us a little bit about the history of Loose Screw Brewing, because you are not the first owner, correct?
We are not. Well, we are the first owner of Loose Screw. But as far as the actual brewery itself, no, we're not. We would be the fourth owners of a brewery in that location.
In that location, because it was previously, if I recall right, Bella. And then
Mm-hmm.
before that, let me check my notes. I don't know, half?
Marcos can sound that out for you.
Hoff. Like David Hasselhoff.
Okay.
That was a common mispronunciation when I worked there. Everyone.
Oh, so you've been there for a while.
Have been, yeah. So
Okay.
everyone would say Half, but it was Hoff. That was just the last name of Brian Hoff. And he's the one who started that location, I guess. He's bought the original equipment and kind of got the whole thing going at that space.
Okay.
So you've been out there from the beginning.
Yeah, I started off as a bartender with Hoff, and then that sold and transitioned over into Bella underneath a gentleman by the name Tom Day. And then I guess with the third ownership, it stayed Bella, and the logo changed over to the Moose Chuck logo.
Okay. Look at that. All right, there's a lot of history. It's got to be nice, like, if there's a brewery for sale and you want one, to be able to have, like, a reputable brewer already there, so you don't have to worry about finding a head brewer and the equipment. Talk about a sweet score, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at when we came in, Marcos was the only thing that we wanted to keep. We met with him quite a few times before we actually did it and realized that, he's a guy who can make the beer that we're looking for. Everything else with it, we looked at it as an asset purchase.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. All right. So, is Loose Screw your first forte into beer? Have you been in the beer industry for a while?
Other than really liking craft
Mhm.
beer, yeah, no, we've never been in the industry in terms of jobs or business ownership or anything like that. No.
So, what's your background?
Background is in business. We've started quite a few businesses over the last several years, and we have the business and marketing side of things is what we know really well. And so with that, we know that on a business like this, where we don't know anything about brewing, we rely heavily on the people who do. In this case, it's Marcos. And so I think it's a great relationship, because we can come in and go, okay, we know how to turn this ship around on the branding and marketing side of things, but we also know we have a brewer who can do just about anything that he wants. It's pretty amazing what he can do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're pretty lucky that way to have Marcos with you there. So kind of holds the history there. That's pretty awesome, man. Right on.
The deal wouldn't have happened if Marcos didn't agree to stay.
Did you hear that, Marcos? Special.
Honestly, I mean,
X Factor.
I think it's been nice to have them come in. I mean, being part of Hoff and Bella, the iterations that they had, and it's been refreshing to have somebody like Chris and Bethany who have that background, because I don't ever think we made bad beer, and it's constantly getting better, but I wouldn't. We've never really had the kind of business experience or support, that we've gotten from Chris and Bethany, to really take us to that next level. Because, you can make the best beer in the world, but if you know how to sell it, if you know how to brand it, if you know how to market it, then, nobody's going to buy it, and you're not going to go anywhere. And I mean, that's what I saw happen.
That's incredibly true. I mean, it's almost like you have to have both parts of the world in order to really succeed there. So it's all about a balance. So when you decided to do the buyout, Chris, was there ever a thought of like, let's keep the name, or were you straight up like, no, we're rebranding, we're regrowing? What was kind of your thought process there?
So that's an interesting story. I actually know the two guys who bought it as the second Bella. And well, I knew one of them pretty well. I told him when he was going to buy it that my opinion was, in order for them to grow it and be successful, they had to do a rebrand, complete rebrand, everything. And they rebranded by changing logo and some designs and stuff, but they kept all the same beer. They kept the name, and for a brewery that's somewhat established, even though it's not very, it wasn't successful, it's been around long enough for people to know what it is. And in order to be able to differentiate yourself and create something new and fresh, it needed a complete turnaround. And so when we came in, it actually was through a conversation with one of the guys who bought it the previous time, and they were looking for to do something different, and the opportunity came up. I wasn't really interested in starting another company or doing anything else like that again, because it's very hard to do. But I love craft beer and I have a passion for it. I don't necessarily need to know how to make it, but I need to know how to drink it, and I like to drink it. So with that, I looked at it as a challenge. Obviously, my wife and I talked about it quite a bit, and we ultimately decided to go for it, but we knew it was going to be a huge undertaking. And, I mean, we're barely scratching the surface on what we plan on doing right now.
Well, that's cool, because I have noticed when it did that changeover, you see the logo out a lot more. You see the beer out a lot more. It seems like you guys are already distributing, easy for me to say, way more than you were before. So it's awesome seeing that, because it takes a little bit of hustle to make this shit work. So
yeah, we decided when we were going to go into it, we were going to make the investment. And a lot of times when people get into business, they do what they got to do to open the doors, and then they blow all their wad and they can't really do anything. Mm-hmm. And so we knew if we were going to go into it, we had to have the money to say, okay, we're willing to put it into it. And so we immediately hired more people. We spent thousands of dollars on the rebrand and relaunch, getting a professional marketing company to handle the logos and stuff like that. We hired a salesperson full time. So yeah, I mean, there's just things that you got to do if you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. Well, let's get more into that in a second, but first, we have another beer. So let's get down on that. This is
The Screw You Amber? I'm sorry.
Screw You, Amber.
Sorry,
I'm
Amber.
sure there's a story behind that.
It was just one of the names. We just did like a spitball in the group chat. You know, we were trying to come up with something. That's sometimes how it goes. And
Someone's been
Yeah,
scorned
so-
by an Amber.
everyone always comes in. They ask, you know, who's Amber? What did she do? Why do you guys hate her so much? And I'm just like, you know, my response is like, you got to know an Amber you hate. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But
I don't think I know Amber. Okay, so besides the name, what can you tell us about this beer?
So yeah, an amber malt forward. I would say ours is a little different. It's a little hoppy for the style, not necessarily hoppy in general. You know, it's not IPA type hoppy by any means, but there is a good amount of hop flavor to it that I really like. The Amarillo is a variety I chose to use, and it's a little more acidic than most, and I don't know. I think it creates a nice good bite to it that contributes to it well. And so we're using the same type of yeast we use with the Blonde Ale. That yeast strain has kind of become our house yeast, if you call it. And yeah.
Right on.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, this has a quite an interesting character quality. Most ambers can be kind of bland in general sometimes, but this one got that. I think that yeast that you were saying earlier adds a kind of spiciness to it, and then that hoppiness comes in with a nice kind of effervescent quality. If I'm gonna take some liberties here, you can go ahead and correct me.
No, for sure. Like we have a tool, and a lot of breweries have it, but I think I like to utilize it as best I can. And in regards to the carbonation, you know, we can measure the exact carbonation, and so that's something that I like to do. I don't like to have every beer, you know, at the same carbonation level. Some, and depending on the style, some are better enjoyed at the lower end, and you know, some can benefit from having a little bit more into it. And for sure, this is one of those styles that has a little bit more carbonation. And
Yeah, I think it worked out really well. Nice choice.
Yeah, I agree. I typically don't usually drink ambers because if you've had an amber, you've had an amber, you've had an amber. But again, I think it's got to be that yeast or something, because there's, you know, I use that word with the blonde. You gave amber some personality, and it's important to give your beers a little bit of that standout personality. All right, let's get back to it. So, for small businesses, even in the beer market, there is a need to separate yourself from your competition. I'd say especially in the beer market, and continually innovate on ways to show that you're different. So you not only have that challenge, but also challenge of creating distance from your former brand. How you guys going about doing that?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, especially in the brewing industry where there's so many different brewers out there. I mean, even in a smaller place like Boise, we have lots of different breweries. And one thing that we looked at when we were looking at doing this is we really wanted to see what was out there. And Boise has a lot of really good Idaho in general has a lot of really good breweries. So how could we do something different? And I think that's where the name, the branding, what we're planning on with each beer is going to, you know, it's a unique name, something that, you know, we try to come up with that people will remember. Ultimately, when we get into grocery distribution, you're going to see different characters for each beer. So, like, the beer cans are going to be all designed differently. Batty Bombshell, like that first beer we drank, the blonde, our idea for that character is going to be a used up old pinup model, kind of a cartoon. So think the mom from Something About Mary, and go with what you can do with that.
Oh, that would be a...
Genius.
I can totally get behind that.
I
That's
100%
hilarious.
agree with what you're doing.
So going from Hoff to Bella to Loose Screw, fourth technically company in the same location. How's the community response been?
Yeah, I think that our response overall has been amazing. People are really enjoying, the changes in the tap room, which really you can only do so much with where you're at, right? You can't polish a turd, so you do the best you can with it.
You can make it smell nice. Yeah, I don't know.
But, as far as what we can do or what we did do or could do, the response has been great. We've brightened it up. We've, just made it a little bit more of a place you would want to come hang out. Ultimately, long-term, to differentiate ourselves from previous brands in that location, we have a new location opening up. We will be closing Garden City's location within the next year and moving that potentially somewhere else in Garden City. It just depends on what comes up. But ultimately, for our long-term plan, that location's not going to cut it. So we have a lot of different things we're thinking about. But overall, it's the marketing and the branding. And realistically, Bella never, although it had been around for 5 years or whatever, it had never made a mark. So we think that 6 more months from now, people are probably not even going to remember it was there.
I don't disagree with that statement. So I want to get back to a little bit about that buyout, on how there was only one constant that went from Bella to Loose Screw, and that was this fine gentleman to my right here, Marcos. So I guess open question to either one of you: what were the challenges, and especially I guess to you too, Marcos, of being the only thing that stayed with everything else changing, trying to, were there old habits you had to break or new ones you had to learn to try and force yourself to grow with the new company?
There were things that I had wanted to do that I just didn't have the ability to do. Just not being the head brewer, not being the man in charge, not being in control of the recipes or as far as the ingredients and stuff go. So I think that was a challenge, is just adapting to what I actually wanted to do from the start, but couldn't do because I wasn't the head brewer. Because it wasn't until the second iteration of Bella came in to where I actually had the opportunity to become the head brewer. I've only been technically the head brewer there for about a year, maybe a little more than a year. So that was probably the biggest challenge, was just adapting to what I wanted to do and become the brewer that I wanted to be. Before I was just I was in the shadows, just doing the grunt work and learning what I could along the way, and
Pretty rad. Sounds like you just had to find your rhythm, find your signature, and kind of just find yourself as a brewer there, it sounds like. So it's pretty awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Super
Because same
jelly.
thing, it's much nicer when you don't have to ask questions on what you
Yeah.
can do,
Oh, for
and you
sure,
can just
yeah.
make that decision. But also a lot scarier because there's no one else to blame if it goes wrong than yourself.
Yeah.
But he told me to. Shit, that was my idea.
The thing with Marcos, though, is he's a lot harder on himself than anybody else is going to be.
Oh yeah, you're your own biggest critic.
He's very talented, and if we can think something was good, and he could think it sucked, and he'll take it upon himself and kind of carry that burden.
Man that loves his craft. It's important to be passionate.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Hey, guess what, guys? It's time for another beer. Changing hues on this one, getting much darker.
So we have the flocked Focker, just like Meet the Fockers. If
Somebody's
I'm
a
not
Ben
mistaken.
Stiller fan, it sounds like.
Is there a theme here, guys? Yeah.
God, maybe that other beer should be called Screw You Mary at this point. Tell us about this one.
So this is an oatmeal stout. It's a little bit different than most. Kind of touching on one of the questions you'll be asking, or I guess have asked in the future, will be like how to set ourselves apart from other breweries. And one thing that I've been trying to do is just use different ingredients. Um, One of the good things about just the explosion of the craft beer industry has been all the time and research and money put into developing, new hop strains, new yeast strains, new grain. So your ingredients are limitless. I mean, there's so many different things, and so for this particular beer, it uses a type of grain or a type of oat. It's called the golden naked oat, and it's a wholeless oat, meaning it doesn't contain any outside husk. Like barley, all barley contains a husk, so when you're mashing in, it helps with filtration and stuff, and this doesn't, and it just contributes a completely different flavor. When most recipes are written for an oatmeal stout, they're going to call for like a rolled oat or like a torrefied oat, which are things you would just find in your breakfast, Quaker oats. But that's usually what they're using, and I mean, and I still use them as well. But the golden naked oat is different. It's just another type of oat, another variety. It's grown differently, tastes different, it's malted differently. So that's what I chose to use with this beer. It's just a lot of that and not so much of the flaked or the rolled oats that you typically find. And it gives it a good amount of sweetness, especially in the nose, I feel like.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
there's I guess a touch of lactose, a little bit of milk sugar in there to contribute to that as well. But
Man's
Yeah,
getting
I
an
felt
issue over
that.
here with
Yeah.
some lactose.
I was at 2C recently, and I did hear a bit of a story. Yeah.
Yeah, Lactose and I are not friends. When he brought it that fucking...
It's light though. It's light. Like
His was
guarantee-
not light.
No,
Oh boy, that was thick. I could see the lactose in it.
I think he was talking about the flocked one. He's got nightmares from it. It's a rough day. No, this is good. I get a lot of coffee, sort of malty notes. It sounds like you hit that on the head, but I really like that you chose a different sort of malt strain to kind of really express that oatmeal quality to it. So
Well, and I like that it's not overly roasty, because that tends to be a problem sometimes with like oatmeals in general, is you just get a super roasted malt flavor from it.
For sure.
And I don't get that at all in this, because that's one of those things, at least when I get it, that leaves me that just taste in the mouth. This
bit
one
of
does
a
not
dry
do.
kind of
Exactly.
oh,
So it
sure,
actually,
yeah.
it's there, it says hello, it stays its welcome just in time, then it says goodbye, which is what a good stout should do, in my opinion.
No, and same thing on some of the darker grains that I used. To be specific, it's called the Black Prince. It's a type of grain, and it's wholeless as well, and that's something that you don't get like with grains that have that whole. You don't get that astringent, like lingering bitterness. It's a little smoother, not so aggressive, I guess. And that was just another way I wanted to go about it, is use that instead, and some of the more traditional malts that have been used in the past. And
What's the ABV on this bad boy?
I think it's 6%.
6%, right on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the
Excellent.
names, because so far you guys all have really fun names. What is you mentioned kind of the one previously, the amber one was like a group message. Is that kind of your theme? You'll come up with a beer and just be like, let's see who has the best name, because I know naming is an MFer, to say the least, because you never know. You think you have a clever one and someone on the other side of the country had it first. So walk us through that process a little bit. If you have a new beer, how do you name it?
I mean, I suck at naming beers. Like, for the most part, I leave it up to Chris or somebody else. Like, I'll make the beer, and you guys can come up with a name.
Yeah, so the names go back to the whole branding thing again, right? And we have a couple different requirements when we name a beer. And one, well, let me go back to the beginning. We did the group chat thing at the beginning, and that's how Screw You Amber came up. And I think Modest Freak. We found that it was a little bit difficult to try and get 6, 7, 8 people to agree on a name. And so the last, 6 or 7, I just came up with them because it was just easier to just do it. I mean, if someone said that really sucks, then, we wouldn't do it. But, for the most part, it's been okay. But our requirements are that, one, they need to have one word in them that goes along with our loose screw, like kooky, like, in the Batty Bombshell, Batty's kind of means crazy, kind of. You got Screw You Amber, which would be not like that, but it's still kind of funny, goes along with the brand. Just something memorable, but it needs to go along with what our branding is. You have a lot of companies, and not just in the brewing industry, but in general, that they try to have an identity, but when they're naming products, they're all over the board. And so we're trying to keep that in line with our overall brand. The other thing is we try to put a word into it that has something to do with brewing. So on the amber, it's an amber beer. The Focker has to do with kind of the way that yeast settles and kind of separates from the beer in the brewing process. And so there's, most people wouldn't know that stuff, but we try to do that. And so it's kind of just in that realm right there.
Yeah, like I said, naming it's so much fun, but it definitely can be a challenge. But I like the way you guys name it, because said especially trying to go to market and getting different labels, the cooler the name, the cooler the label opportunity that presents itself. How are you guys going to go about the artwork? Are you doing that in-house? Are you hiring somebody to do it?
Yeah, we'll end up hiring. We're right now, for what we're looking at doing label-wise, the company that did our initial branding and kind of like marketing communication, they don't do illustration, and for what we're looking at doing, we need an illustrator. And so we haven't chosen the company yet, but we will end up just hiring a professional company to do it, because if you want it done right, that's what you do, right?
Get a professional. Absolutely. All right, well, let's drink some Wreckin' Wally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do we got here? Looks like another nice little darkness. 5.4% and 18 IBUs. Tell me more, Marcus.
So this is another beer I just wanted to do something a little different, kind of out of the box. It's actually a wheat beer. So it's called,
With
style-wise.
this hue on it. Look at that.
Yeah,
the
call
nose
it
is
an
super
American
interesting.
wheat beer, and all the color and I mean most of that dark malt flavor comes from a type of wheat. It's called the midnight wheat, and very similar to the last beer. It's just like it's a wholeless wheat grain that contributes a lot of flavor and a lot of color, but again it's just super smooth. We paired that along with some blackberry and plum puree. So there's about 84 pounds of plum and 42 pounds of blackberry puree that we add to the beer once it's done fermenting. That way, just to preserve some of the flavor, you get a completely different type of flavor from those kind of things when you add it while it's fermenting. The yeast will chew up those sugars and produce something more of a wine flavor, compared to if you were to do it post fermentation, once all the yeast is removed and allow it to mix in at that point. So
Tell you, this is my favorite beer so far. They've all been good, but I really like this. That subtle sweetness. I can taste that blackberry, which is probably why I am a sucker for a good blackberry flavor. But yeah, it sits like a wheat beer. It tastes like a wheat beer. It does not look like one. Fucking well done, man.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Like, even on the nose, it becomes something quite interesting right off the bat just because of that blackberry sort of plum puree that you rolled in there. Like, I would have never guessed that off the top, but after you saying that, it makes so much sense. And this is well crafted, sir.
I'm surprised with that much puree. It's still, it's got a dark color, but it's not thick.
yeah,
It's not very viscous. It sits nice and light. There's some alchemy in this one. Really is.
Yeah.
Do you guys, because I've been seeing a lot of breweries are doing or going to be doing a loyalty program. Do you guys have anything like that?
Yeah, we do actually. We started that probably, within a week or two of the rebrand and the relaunch as Loose Screw, and right now it's buy 10 pints or 10 crowlers, get one free. There's no cards or anything people have to carry around. It's all tracked. You put in your phone number when you check out, and next time you come in and you've had 10, you get one free. Simple, easy.
Wow, that's awesome. Way to make it simple for the people. That's great.
Simplicity is key. Tell us also, do you guys do anything with Boise Beer Buddies? Because I know our friend Stacy Connolly, check out that episode if you haven't already, was actually the one that kind of helped officiate this meeting, if you will.
Yeah, we love her. Boise Beer Buddies is awesome. I'll give this one to Marcos, though, because they were doing that even before we came around, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean Stacey's great. She's an ambassador for the industry, I would call her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she speaks highly of everyone and promotes everyone that she can and that wants to be promoted and is always out and about. I mean, you can find her at almost any beer event or.
Yeah, we cannot speak highly enough about Stacy on this podcast. She's been great help to us, and it's even when we haven't asked for it. Just her reaching out to other people. These guys will be great for your show. What she does for the beer community. There are few people in the area that do more than she does.
Weekly
If
beer
anybody, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've run into a lot of people who just come in and are asking like, how do I get into the industry, or like, are you hiring? And a lot of times I refer them to the Boise Beer Mutters email. Like, we may not be hiring, but 9 times out of 10, Stacy knows who is, and she's gonna throw it in that email.
Exactly.
So, if you want to get into the industry, subscribe and see what's going on that week. See if somebody's, looking for a bartender, looking for a cook. I mean, to get in the industry, sometimes you just got to get your foot in the door.
You just got to get your foot in the door, absolutely.
Whether it's, doing something, on the cook line, or like I said, as a bartender, that's your best resource for sure.
Absolutely. What do you guys do? So you're a Buddy Hub?
We are a Buddy Hub. We do $1 off for your first pint.
Okay.
We sell the cards as well, so.
There you go. Excellent. And still, if you use Brewnomics as a discount code, you get 25% off. That's like my favorite thing about doing this now is we get to be a discount code. It makes me feel so powerful. I'm sure all 5 people that have taken advantage of it felt great too.
Yeah, I'm going to want to hear the numbers on that, but it feels good.
It's a good deal, I think. I mean, especially if you're somebody who drinks a lot of craft beer or just goes to bars or restaurants that have craft beer on tap. I mean, I know I pitched it to somebody today. I mean, a regular that comes in all the time. And
it pays for itself so fast.
Oh, yeah.
So fast, especially if you're utilizing it. Even right now when it's a little bit harder to go out and do stuff than normal, there's still a lot of places that honor it with growler fills, crowlers, whatever it may be. So.
I was in Lohman. Do you guys know where Lohman is?
I do.
Been there once.
I built a cabin in Lohman.
Have you been to the lodge?
Yeah.
I was there for the first time this weekend and ordered some food, ordered some beers, and then go inside and see there's a Beer Buddies thing on the inside. It was 10% off your whole meal.
That's
and drink.
amazing. That's amazing.
And I totally missed out on it. I mean, I already paid and everything, but I was out in Lohman, out in the middle of here, that's a good deal. 10%.
You're how does she make it out there?
That is she a hustler, man.
She's doing
She really
it,
does.
yeah.
You don't have to just be in Boise to take advantage of the Boise Beer Buddies program.
And if you're ever in doubt, there is an app out there, so you can check the map and it'll show you if there's a Beer Buddy Hub nearby, which is kind of cool.
So I think you already answered this question a little bit earlier, but you guys have had huge expansion. You said you're looking into a new location, and then you're going to probably ixnay the old one. Where's the new location? Do you have any? You're trying to go downtown, Meridian, Boise? What are you looking at?
Yeah, we actually have a deal dialed in. It's a done deal. It's going to be in Meridian at Linder and McMillan. It's a new center going in there called Sawtooth Village, and we chose that location specifically because of its proximity to many homes where people can ride bikes and walk. We also chose it because there's going to be neighboring businesses that are favorable to us in terms of food and things like that, where we don't want to do food. Our sole focus is on brewing great beer, creating a brand, and getting it into grocery. And so trying to focus on food just doesn't make sense for us. So the center we're going into has, I can't tell you what the restaurants are that are going in, but there's there's a few different restaurants going in. One of them directly across from our patio space that will be, it'll allow us to have an amazing partnership where they're going to do, they actually do breakfast, but they're going to do lunch and dinner also. And so, we'll still have an occasional food truck out here and there, but we don't necessarily need it. And so that is, that location is specifically to help create more brand awareness.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, in my opinion, in what we are looking at doing in our long-term plans, tap room is definitely a way to generate revenue and brand awareness and buzz, but that's not where you stop for what we're doing. As far as Garden City goes, we would like to be able to find another location that we can open up, but it all depends on what we feel that a location could do. At this point, our biggest goal is finding a place where we can brew a higher capacity out of. And if that's in Garden City, that's great. If it's not, then that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
In Idaho, you are limited to 2 tap rooms as a brewery.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So we may find a place to brew out of that is, similar to Mother Earth, where it's industrial. You may not get a lot of traffic, but we would still put a tap room in because, it'll help generate some revenue to pay the rent and whatnot. Or we could find an amazing space that we can have a great tap room out of and brew out of. We just don't know at this point.
Is there any kind of timeline that we're looking at on when we can see that happen around Linder and McMillan, or?
Well, if the city goes along with us the way that we hope they will, we could be
Sorry, sore topic.
we could be open as early as maybe end of August. We originally were hoping for like mid-August. We are finding slight challenges, not roadblocks, just things taking longer than they should have. Meridian's pretty friendly for what we're looking at doing, but there are things that you have to get done, and it's just taking a little bit more time right now for whatever reason. But the lease is done, the layout's done, the applications have been done. So right now it's just kind of a wait until we get the green light from the city, and then we can finalize our beer licenses and all of that with the state and the county, and then also the city. We got to do that with them. But yeah, hopefully end of August, maybe into September.
That was a lot faster than I thought, honestly. That's great to hear.
All right. We're going to drink another beer, and this is all your fault, Marcos. You brought it all. So next is the Mashed Maniac, coming in at 5.9% with 46 IBUs. Extrapolate.
So this is one of the beers that I created that I guess was, I'm going to say really for you, Chris, honestly. I mean, he came in and he said,
Most of the beers
this.
you created were for me.
But he's like, I like this beer. I'm not going to name the beer. He's like, I like how it is, I like how it tastes. Like, I want you to create something similar for me. And so, yeah, I was like, all right, for sure, let me do it. And did some research and, found out what that recipe was about, and then just, I guess, put my own twist on it. And anyways, it's a hoppy pale ale. I guess you call it an American pale ale. And it's an all Citra-based recipe. So the only hop that goes into it is Citra, and it's a lot of like back-end additions, which refers to the boil. So typically, to get a lot of IBUs, to get a lot of bitterness, you're going to add some hops at the beginning of the boil. A 60-minute boil is very typical for a recipe, and so where this follows that same guideline, it's a 60-minute boil. Nothing's actually added until the very back end of that boil, 15, 5, or I guess 15, 10, 5, and then once the boil is done, and really what that does, or why someone would do that, is just to preserve a lot of that hop flavor and a hop aroma, because when you boil hops for a long time, that just goes out the stack. It just evaporates, and you're just left with bitterness. And so with this guy, because they're all at the very back end, that's the goal, is to preserve that hop flavor, the hop aroma. Especially like with this hop, it's a super popular hop. People love Citra, and the thing with it is always it's expensive. Like,
Really?
it's one of the most expensive hops out there, and so it made sense to do it that way. I mean, you still get some bitterness, but you can again preserve some of that flavor and not just waste money. Honestly, like,
It's fair, man. Definitely fair. No, there's an interesting familiarity to this beer when you taste it, just because of that Citra hop. I think it's used quite prevalently. But once again, you've created another character, another personality within this beer based on your own spin, and so definitely comes through very clear here. Once again, very clear, very clean, great on the mouthfeel. I can see why you like this, Chris.
Trying so hard to figure out what the beer is that inspired this one.
He's tweaked it enough to where you wouldn't be able to figure it out. But
I feel like if we played 20 questions,
it's not an Idaho beer. It is somewhere on the west side of the United States, but yeah, he's tweaked it enough, and that's how good he is. He can take something and go, okay, I can create you something that you like as much, but make it a little bit different. And when he mentions Citra, the one thing is, what I like now for him is he has the ability to make good beer with good ingredients. Our beer is pretty expensive to make, and that's okay, because you know what? It tastes freaking damn good.
Yeah, I would much rather have good ingredients cheap. Now, we talked about this a little bit before. Life's too short for cheap beer, cheap barbecue, man. So have the good shit while you can. Like I said, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but one of our favorite breweries, even before they kind of partnered with Sam Adams, was Dogfish Head, and they're one of the most expensive beers you can drink. But also a lot of that is due to the hard work that they put into finding, high-end quality ingredients with it, and it shows. If you're going to spend a little bit more money on something, it better taste good.
100%.
So both of you, because we always have to ask this question, what is your favorite beer that you guys make and your favorite beer that you don't make? Maybe you can say the one, Chris, that didn't inspire this beer we just drank, so you don't give it away if you don't want to. But, yeah, give some shouts. Your favorite beer and a beer outside of the game. Your game.
You go first.
I'm a big sour guy, honestly. I love sours, love mixed fermentation beers, and if I had to pick, you want me to pick a brewery? You want me to pick like a beer? Like,
It's your choice, baby. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, a memorable beer that kind of like even puts you on a path of wanting to be a brewer almost. That's probably kind of where my curiosity lies, if I'll be honest.
yeah, I'm gonna have to say Sierra Nevada. When I first started getting into beer, there's a place out in Meridian used to be called Brewphoria. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yep.
Was a frequent visitor to Brewphoria. That's kind of where I guess my love of craft began. And a very specific beer that I remember is Selkirk Abbey. It was a collaboration beer that they brewed with some monks. So it was a Belgian beer. It was a Belgian quad. And yeah, I love that beer. That was my favorite beer. I mean, I remember it was cheap. It was delicious. For a craft beer, it was cheap. And yeah, and so I love Belgian style beers like that, for sure.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. Chris, how about you?
Well, he didn't say what his favorite loose screw beer is.
My favorite loose screw beer right now would probably be what we're gonna have next. Actually, the Modest Freak. It's a session IPA, and I tweaked a little bit from the last recipe, but it may not be what I drink the most of, or no, it is for sure what I drink the most of, because of the ABV. It's low gravity, and you can have multiple of it and not be wasted.
Do you guys do any sours? You said you're a big sour guy. You look like an average size sour guy, but do you do sours? Do you have a sour? Do you plan to do sours?
Done a sour in the past, a few, and I have one. We'll have one in the works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess let's see how that turns out. Your turn. What's up?
Yeah, for me, so my favorite right now is actually a beer we don't have called the Hacky Hophead, which is our Northwest IPA. Another one that I asked Marcos to make specifically a flavor and taste that I would want, which he delivered on, and no crap, I freaking literally almost had a tear in my eye the first time I tasted it. It was that damn good. I would put it up with any IPA anywhere. We don't have it because we've sold through it so quickly. So other people agree. I'm not I'm not just the only one. But as far as another brewery, I would say probably right now, I mean, I have a lot of favorite breweries, but I would say Post Falls up in Post Falls, Idaho, is my favorite brewery because I could go in there and get a flight of 8 beers and have every single one be good.
Interesting. I didn't know there was a brewery in Post Falls.
Me neither. Yeah.
They're amazing.
Can't remember the last time I've been to Post Falls.
Huh. Very cool.
Where can you get your guys' beer at currently? Just the tap? Because I know it's not just the tap room. Is it just the tap room?
No.
not
So
just
we distribute. We
Seen it.
we actually have a full-time sales guy who is slash assistant brewer at this point.
Okay.
We're going to be hiring an assistant brewer probably in the next month to 45 days, so that Marcos can have a little bit of help. There's a lot that goes into brewing and cleaning kegs and all of that, and it's hard to have a sales guy kind of half time doing sales and half time doing brewing. But now that we're back open and restaurants are open and things like that, we just need to pull the trigger and get it done. So we're in, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 different places around town, different restaurants and bars and tap rooms and things like that. We're in Good Apple Tap out in Meridian. They've supported us pretty well. Flatbread and Eagle, Heritage Hop House in Meridian, Homestead. I mean, we're quite a few different places.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good places, too. We like a lot of those.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of those places. Fun.
What is, and I'm just curious because I know it's different. So I always like to ask, was there a specific, even though it may not be your favorite beer now, because the beer that got me into craft beer is definitely not my favorite, but is there that one, were you ever a macro guy, where you're drinking fucking PBR or Bud Light, and all of a sudden crack something open and you're just like, holy shit, beer can taste good. Did you ever have that experience? Do you have a beer that really kind of enlightened you into the glory of craft beer?
Are you familiar with Brother Thelonious?
Yes, I am.
That'd be.
I'm right.
that'd
I
be-
love Belgian style beer.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
That'd be my beer for sure.
Right on. What about you?
Well, when you get into craft beer, you definitely open your opportunities, and the first thing that opens your eyes to it is probably not what you're going to stick with. I used to be a cheap beer guy when I was younger, and then when I got introduced to craft beer, I didn't actually like it at first, and that was actually Sierra Nevada, and that was because, back then, 20 years ago, it was Sierra Nevada. You had Newcastle, Sam Adams. Those were the ones that were around. There really wasn't a lot. And then 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started drinking different craft beers, and I think the first one that I liked was Citrus Mistress. And, that really got me into craft beer. I wouldn't choose that beer at this point, but it's still a good beer.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't know. I have a special place in my heart from Hop Valley because they were one of our first interviews, and they're pretty cool to us. So.
Yeah, Citrus Mistress is a great beer. Yeah, I do like them a lot.
I just love the story. Try and say that beer when you're really drunk. Citrus Mattress.
I have about 6 of those Citrus Mistresses, and those S's are going to start blending together.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
almost
I
went
thought about it.
Almost went the whole interview without talking into my beer, but I just did it. Son of a bitch.
Told you it's going to happen.
It's gonna
Told you it's gonna
happen. What do we got next here?
So, yeah, like you said, we have the Modest Freak here, correct?
That's what it looks like, yes. 4.1 ABV and 47 IBUs.
I do like the naming quality on this one. It's quite a juxtaposition of just, he's a freak, Kind of modest though. It's all right. He's got rules.
Not a super freak.
Just a modest.
Just a
freak.
modest freak. Enlighten us, Marcos.
So yeah, probably my favorite beer right now. A little different from the last batch in just that we've added another hop to it. And so really a lot of the flavor that you're getting is going to come from the variety I decided to add, which is El Dorado, super popular hop. One of my favorite, honestly. You know, it's something that I had worked with in the past. We did a smash beer, which is like a single malt, single hop. So just one type of malt, one type of hop beer, and we used El Dorado, and I really liked doing those beers, and I enjoy smash beers as far as like it's a good palate trainer for me. Like, you know, since there's only one hop variety, like you know what it tastes like, you know what kind of bitterness it's gonna contribute, flavor and aroma. Like that's it. This is the El Dorado, and so when we did that beer, that's kind of when I found that love and that appreciation for the El Dorado. And so for batch number 2, the Modest Freak, I wanted to include it in there because I felt batch number 1 was just missing something. You know, it was a little thin to me. The aroma, the flavor was lacking, in my opinion, and so this batch number 2 has a little bit more alcohol. The first batch was, I want to say, 4.1%. This one brought it up to 4.7. Gives a little more body. I feel like, you know, it is hard to do a low alcohol beer and not have it be thin. You know, it's difficult. You know, people rag on some of these breweries that do these low carb, low calorie beers, and I mean, it's not easy to do, honestly. Like,
I'm one of those people.
yeah, like, and so that's one reason I brought up the ABV and to bring that up a little bit, and then again added that extra hop to add some more flavor, some more aroma. But yeah, it's really about the El Dorado on this beer. El Dorado, Amarillo. There's a little bit of Simcoe in there as well.
Excellent. Yeah, no, looks like you've achieved a great balance here with this one. It's I like where it sits at 4.6. It's tagging in pretty okay on this one, and once again, pretty sessionable, and so I can see why you like this one a lot.
Absolutely. Next up is our rapid fire questions, but we didn't print that out, so I'm going to be super unprofessional and go get my phone. In the meantime, Vic's going to go over our plugs, and then so are you guys.
Should we take a break? No? Okay. Well, that brings us to some plugs then. We're going to take a little bit of break from our interview. So check out the lounge at the end of the universe. This is where we're filming this right now. You can still get growler deliveries just by going to their website, lounge.com/shop. I'm sorry, what? loungeboise.com/shop. Thank you very much. I've been drinking today. My apologies. Check out Beer Buddies. Get $5 off in-house growler fills. And please help to continue to support the lounge with local artists by becoming a member at patreon.com/loungeboise. And remember, members get access to exclusive content, parties, and more. Upcoming, we have live taping and a drink-along. So look for that in the future for Brewnomics, where we'll do kind of a live podcast with virtual ticket sales in place, and you can drink along a flight with us. So that should be pretty fun. Jerry, back to you.
Hey, missed you guys. It was nice. All right, so we're going to do some rapid fire questions now, which has absolutely nothing to do with beer. It's more to do with you guys. You can both answer, or not. I'm not going to force you to do anything. Let's see. Big party or small gathering?
I'm gonna go with a small gathering.
Same.
Swimming or sunbathing?
Swimming. Oh, for sure. How about both? How about like naked swimming so you get sunbathing involved?
I like that answer.
Phone call or text?
Text for sure.
Oh, text.
Yeah.
All the way.
If you call me, you're getting fucking voicemailed.
That's your important.
Do you have a preferred streaming service, both video and audio?
Audio, I'm going Spotify. Video, Hulu.
Nice.
Yeah, audio, I'm going either SoundCloud, Spotify, Hype Machine. Those are my go-tos. Video, yeah, pretty common. Netflix, Hulu,
Did you say Hype Machine?
Hype Machine.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So it's like a blog website, and they just accumulate a bunch of different popular posts from different websites.
Super dope.
It's like a good gem finder. Like,
Okay.
you're gonna find stuff on there that you're not gonna find in like a lot of other places.
You've piqued my interest, sir. All right.
Interesting. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Okay.
Marvel.
All right. All right. Cornhole or ladder ball?
I mean, I used to be part of a cornhole league, so I gotta go with cornhole
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
Were you sponsored by Johnson & Johnson sausages?
It was not.
Can't spell sausage without
Sponsored
USA.
Big K Barbecue.
Were you really?
No, that was just that was just the league that I played in. One of the guys that owns Big K Barbecue had invited me to play in their league, so I played with them.
I'm gonna say technically then, because I really like
Counts.
that.
Totally counts. Board games or video games?
It depends. I mean, love a good Monopoly game. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Catan.
Oh, Settlers of Catan, sure.
Settlers of Catan. Yeah. So the wife and I and the kid, like,
My
we've
older
got-
brother has a Star Trek edition of that.
For real?
Yeah.
We've got 3 expansions we're up to right now, and yeah, it's heated. Like the other day, seriously, the other day, the wife cleaned the closet, and like somehow she found some Catan pieces like in the closet on the floor somewhere. So she came out, like presented these pieces to me, and accused me of like cheating, of pocketing Catan pieces. She's like,
resources.
why did I find these like in the closet? Like, are you like hiding Catan pieces? And I was,
Oh, that shit's next level, bro.
and the thing was,
Dude.
like, it was the most recent expansion, like which we haven't had for a while. I was like, even if I was cheating, like, I haven't been cheating for a long time. And I'm not cheating. I'm not admitting to cheating. This isn't like a confession going on right now, but like, they were just in my pocket somehow. Like,
I was holding
We've
it for
been
a
getting
friend.
Catan
Didn't know what you
for
were
a
getting
long
bringing us
time.
on here.
I did not expect this question to unlock that.
That's
yeah.
great.
Oh, what about you, Chris?
That is great.
Oh, I'm a neither. I don't do board games or video games.
All right, ski or snowboard?
I'm old, so I ski.
Longboard.
Okay. That's your answer.
Those options either. Yeah, I
Mine
like
is
it.
neither. That sounds terrible. Beach or mountains?
Mountains for sure, all the way.
That's tough. I'd go 50-50.
Yeah. Camping or amusement parks?
Camping.
Probably
100%.
camping.
Fair enough. Fries or tots? This is a very important question.
Opinions can be wrong.
Doesn't it really matter where you're getting them from?
True.
Are we talking like natural cut fries or like Ore-Ida fries?
You guys are
like-
looking real deep into these questions. Mine is like Sonic tots. Those things are the best.
Well, they are the best.
natural cut fries.
There you go.
There you go.
Pancakes or waffles?
I go waffles.
Waffles for sure.
Oh yeah, gotta have them little syrup pockets. Laundry or dishes?
Dishes all the way.
I don't do that.
I like that answer, Chris. Like that answer.
All right, and let's see. Last but not least, ninjas or pirates?
I'm going pirates all the way.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There we go.
I have a turtle named Donatello.
Oh, do you really?
That is my
That's
favorite turtle.
amazing.
That's fantastic.
Most
right?
underrated turtle for sure.
100%.
All right, before we boogie, thank you for sitting through that. We always like to ask for a parting gift. So what is something non-beverage related that you would recommend people should check out? Or a bit of advice, life advice, anything like that you would like to disperse upon us in the audience?
Go ahead, Marcos.
Floor is yours, gentlemen.
I'm going to recommend something that I myself want to do, need to do, should do, because I preach it often enough, is just to check out a lot of the natural hot springs Idaho has. I mean, I'm a big hot springs guy. I'll be honest, I stick to a lot of the commercial, like privately owned stuff that, you know, you got to pay to get into. Haven't been to a whole lot of the ones you hike into, the ones that are free, the ones that are remote. And I don't know. I mean, especially with what's going on with the whole virus, a lot of those places are shut down. You know, some of my favorite places are shut down, and I haven't had a soak in a while, and I'm going to have to go to some of these other places that aren't private, that are public, and get that way to, yeah.
You know, Idaho has some of the most beautiful hidden hot springs in the country. All right. Your turn, big dog. Big Chris.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I would recommend. You said not beverage related, so that kind of makes it a little bit tough. I'm gonna go with something on Netflix. Longmire.
Okay.
Longmire is a pretty good show I've gotten into lately, and it's about a little small town, I think out in Wyoming, where you got a sheriff and 3 or 4 deputies in this place, tiny little town, and shit hits the fan, and somehow they all live. So it's a pretty cool show.
I've heard that's a really good show, especially if you're in any sort of modern day westerns. Cool. Right on. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns for us before we start to wrap up here?
No, just thanks for having us on.
Of
we
course.
appreciate being here and sharing some beer and hanging with you guys. It's been a good time.
No, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much for bringing the beer, bringing some swag. If you guys can see, we will do a giveaway, details to come. But, you know, it's right here in front of you, so you can see what it's going to be. What plugs do you guys have for both personal and professional social medias?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite beer?
My favorite beer, I'm going to stick with that, the black wheat beer that you did, whatever that one was called.
Breck and Wally?
Yeah. Shit was good.
Not gonna lie, I do like the Screw You Amber. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably one of my favorites of the night. Yeah.
Cool. All in all, there was not a bad beer here, and I really appreciate that because if I don't like the beer, I'll tell you. I will, even on the show. Yeah. So appreciate we didn't have to have that conversation because that always makes things a little
kind
strange.
of appreciate it too.
How's the lactose sitting with you?
It's not too bad actually. I don't know. Just in general, I'm like, there's a lot of beer in my belly right now, so I don't even. It's like lactose be damned. You better find something soon. But appreciate the concern.
Yeah.
Where can we find Loose Screw online? Loose Screw Beer Company.
loosescrew.beer /order if you want to pre-order some pickups.
There we go. Throw it in the Google machine, Loose Screw Beer Company. I'm sure you can find all the social media sites. Just click follow. Do the same for Brewnomics and Lounge at the End of the Universe. And I think that's about going to do it for us this week, huh?
Think it's good, buddy.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you guys so much. Go check out their tap room in Garden City while you still can. Then go check out the one in Meridian here soon. Give them a follow. Drink good beer. Try not to be a dick. Till next time, I'm Jerry.
I've been Vic.
Don't be a dick.
Or a big dick.